You've made it to the belly of the beast. Very few come this far. To stay here, you must make...
Okay.
Talk about
So
ex-Muslims in the UK. Oh, go ahead.
the guy in Pakistan was apparently just a visitor there. I don't know if he's from Pakistan originally or whatever it is, but he was there to visit, and he was then accused of blasphemy of whatever kind. Um, and the thing is, I saw that the reports that this guy has been killed and has been lynched. I saw the video of it and reports of it first on social media, on Twitter. I immediately searched for news reports as soon as I saw it. Couldn't find anything. And so I thought, interesting. What's that all about? So, and I think more important, more people started sharing it. So I shared it as well after seeing some credible sources share it, and then later on it started surfacing on the media. So the media is slower to record something like this than the average people who report on this kind of stuff are. But
How slow do you think? How slow do you think it would be if it were a bunch of Jews?
They would report it before it even happened.
Attacking a random Palestinian. Yeah, they would. They would report it 3 weeks before it actually happens.
And they would report it as like, even if one person was just attacked and slightly like pushed around or something, they would report it as
genocide.
Is reported that 50 are dead. 50 are dead. 500 of them are women. 600 are children, and 700 are journalists. So
that sounds about correct. All right, so I basically at the polemics conference was talking to various, and it sucks because there were more. But if it was between sessions or something like that, or I was hanging out in a room with someone who's an ex-Muslim, I'd say, hey, why don't we get a quick video of this? And so recorded a couple clips, and some of the clips were just about guys and how they left Islam. And a couple of them, though, included some stories of how they're treated in the UK. So we'll take a look at that. We got a couple of super chats. Oh, no, it's AP's buddy.
Who?
It's AP's buddy. I'll read these first couple of super chats real quick, and then we'll jump into a video. Chapter 108, Holy Skibbity. Indeed, Heisenberg have granted you Rizzler abundant gooning. So edge and gel to your soy jack alone. Only the one who sus you is truly cut off from any grimace shake.
That's a beautiful super chat. I haven't read anything better in my entire life. Yeah.
Is this how young people actually talk?
Yeah, that's how everybody talks. Do you never go outside and talk to younger generations? They all talk like this, exactly.
There would be some destruction if my kids were talking like that. Narrated Aisha, the goat Rizzler, gooned her when she was 6 years old, and he edged his... What the heck is this weirdo? Dude. AP, keep your fans over on your channel.
Yes. Yes.
Ari Day says there are Labor MPs getting threatened about Palestine and being told this is not the place for you.
Not the place.
It's not the place for you.
Labor MPs getting threatened about Palestine and being told this is not the place for you. Interesting.
David Wood, take that Star Wars shirt off. It's stolen valor. Yeah, I just have it because it's basically I use it as when everything else is dirty and I need just a complete rag to wipe something off the ground or something like that. I use this garbage Star Wars shirt. But
what is this, man? This is supposed to be a YouTube channel where we talk about religions, political matters, like actual serious stuff. This guy's telling you to take your shirt off. Like you're in the wrong place.
Take your shirt off. Yeah, take your shirt off. Take your shirt off like Muhammad Hijab. All right, so let's go ahead and check out one of these clips here.
Inshallah.
Hi, I'm here with Nisar. We're at a conference on polemics dealing with Islam, and he's an ex-Muslim, so I thought it'd be good to have a nice little discussion with him. So, Nisar, why don't you tell us about how you left Islam and became a Christian?
Yeah, before that, David, I just want to take an opportunity to say how privileged I am to have met you here. I'm a staunch admirer of yours, and I thank you for all the stuff that you do. Yeah, and it's a pleasure. So I came to the revelation of Jesus Christ going back in '96. It was following my brother's death. He was a year younger than me. It left me quite distraught and quite broken. And in a nutshell, I came across the Word of God, the New Testament, and as expressed, I had a revelation of Jesus Christ, and I gave my heart to the Lord, and I've been walking with the Lord since '96.
So he became a Christian way back in 1996. So that's a long time. That was very, very short version. I wouldn't mind having Nisara on with us at some point to go into more detail. But he gave that clip. But what I actually wanted to talk to him about, because we were discussing this right beforehand, was how he was treated after leaving Islam in the UK. So he's going to go into more detail on that. We have troublemakers here in the chat. Look at this. Say what you want about Winger, but I bet you he would be on time for his lives.
That's what's bad about it.
Yeah, that's, if you wanted to make a case for why we should always be late, you just made a slam dunk case. Because as a general rule, I always try to be the exact opposite of everything Mike Winger is. All right. So
plus, it's not a good thing to be on time. Like, if you want to say something good about Mike Winger, don't tell us that he's on time. That's not good.
Yeah, disgusting stuff. We have
Only
more stuff
criminal.
from. What did you say? Only criminal?
Yeah, only criminals, disgusting people, murderers, thieves, people like that are generally on time.
That's true. That's what they do. They do. Let's see. Let's be real here. My version of the Gunnar Quran is better than the real Quran. Well, to be fair, everything's better than the real Quran. Did either of you read or listen to the speeches, writings, lectures? Osama often framed his actions as being defensive. He was clever. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I've mentioned that repeatedly in This Week in Jihad, that because the schools of Islamic jurisprudence usually hold that only the caliph can call for offensive jihad, actually subjugating the world, that the form of jihad that you're allowed to do without a caliphate would be defensive jihad, which means whenever you're doing it, you have to show that it's defensive. Hence, Osama bin Laden issues his letter explaining why it's all these grievances. That's why we're launching these attacks on you. And then, of course, you have kids on TikTok going, "Oh, whoa, it's actually great. It's way better than I thought. See, he's just upset about stuff." You have to say it's defensive. You have to declare that you're fighting defensive jihad, or people would think that you've declared yourself to be the new caliphate.
Yeah.
And you don't want that.
This is actually a good point by Messianic Apostate, and this is something that people need to understand and be more aware of. Nowadays, as you point out, right now, there's something really wrong with people, especially younger people, in the current year that we're in, where people actually started buying this narrative that it's all defensive and it's all a reaction. But it's very common. This is the way the Islamists have handled things for a long time. It's the way Osama and other terrorists have handled the situation, where they try to market their terror campaign and their war campaign, their campaign for blood, as if it was out of necessity, as if it was defensive. And defensive there, of course, the standards that they use to explain to us why it is defensive are so vague. They make them up. along the way as they go, at every point in time. It could be just that, for example, in the Quran, it is considered corruption to prevent the spreading of Islam, or to not accept Islam, to not officially convert to Islam when you are told to convert to Islam. It is considered corruption. It is considered fitna. It is considered oppression if the authorities in charge of a population, of a country, do not convert to Islam, for example, at that time. And then it would be considered a necessity or a defensive act to then fight against those authorities in order to subdue them and spread Islam. So this way, Muhammad explained his fight against other people, especially against the Meccan polytheists, by just being out of necessity or being defensive. They weren't out of necessity. They were not defensive either. They were offensive. Osama bin Laden,
Very
the same
offensive.
way. What he did was not defense. It was not out of necessity. It was done because he wanted to do it, because Islamists want to do it. ISIS also argues that they are just defending themselves. Hamas also argues that they're just defending themselves. This is a common way of arguing in Islam. Always play the victim. Always claim that we're not great. We're being very aggressive and hostile right now, but it's not because we are aggressive. It's not because we are hostile. It's because we are forced to be hostile. It's because we are forced to be oppressive by these terrible kuffar and these oppressors and these Western forces and so on. This is the Islamic way, and people buy it.
Mm-hmm. That's what they do.
That's what they do,
and it works.
Yep,
it works. It makes me want to figure out how I can claim victim status.
I know. I immediately want to. I'm thinking I should do this too. So,
what, dude? Wouldn't it seriously? Wouldn't it be? I mean, if you wanted to say a group is actually has the potential of being victimized and is in danger from a larger, more powerful group that wants to crush them. I mean, shouldn't ex-Muslims be one of the most protected groups on the planet?
But ex-Muslims are spreading corruption in the land, and are thereby causing fitna. So they should be put to death.
Indeed, and that's what you're going to find out from our friend Nassar here. Take a couple of these real quick. Has any Dawah used the Gospel of Barnabas in argument? Yes, it used to be standard. And it's a good example of how Dawah works. We've said it a million times. The goal is to catch people who aren't ready for something, some new argument, some new position, some new thing that you've made up, because it will take, I mean, decades. It can take decades for people to actually catch on and know how to respond. So the Dawah guys come out with a perfect preservation of the Quran, right down to the letter. Why do they say that? No one knows any better. People don't know about the manuscript history of the Quran and the different qira'at and so on. It gives them an argument that they can use. Scientific miracles in the Quran. It's filled with scientific miracles. How many of the people they're talking to actually know what's in the Quran and know what a disaster it is? No one. So they get away with this. And of course, in the 80s and 90s, they came out with, the Gospel of Barnabas. This is the true gospel. How many people had ever heard of the Gospel of Barnabas? None. And so what? You're hearing about this. And keep in mind, the Dawah clowns, they don't mind making stuff up. They're like, yes, and this goes back to Barnabas and this shows. And no one knows any better. And meanwhile, it eventually gets exposed. People start looking it up, find out that it was written more than 1,000 years after the events, and it's a forgery. Then they don't use it much anymore.
The funny thing is, I still see occasionally one or two people who actually refer to the Gospel of Barnabas as the authentic gospel, and it's funny to see, and it always makes me wonder if this person just didn't get the memo or doesn't know that it has been thoroughly refuted and is an obvious hoax, or if they're just lying and they don't want to stop lying.
Yeah, that's the other part. Is once the Dawah guys spread the lie, then even once they stop using it because the lie's exposed, you still have the followers who don't catch on, right? It's like you'll still find Muslims in random comments and so on appealing to the perfect preservation of the Quran, even though that's been debunked for a while now. Or you'll still find Muslims using the scientific miracles, even though the Dawah guys have abandoned the argument because they say it's been debunked. And so it's these waves of deception. Dawah is these waves of deception. And the goal is to just like every time you're exposing one deception, another wave comes crashing down on you.
Another wave comes crashing down on you.
Long-time listener, first-time super chatter. David, have you ever considered doing a video series on early Christian missionaries to the Muslim world, such as Henry Martin? I think many would find that interesting. Yeah, there are lots of things that lots of people would find interesting that are not things that I've studied. So someone who, I mean, you could do that. Yeah.
Many cases. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a good project for someone who studies that topic. And then let us know. Let us know when it's out. David the Wingling says, AP, you should create a Discord server. Yeah, AP. And then we have a bunch of perverted stuff from Nutters, fight those who do not believe in Mike Winger and the Paradox games, nor comply with what Mike Winger and his Wingerling have forbidden.
Do you know about this book that is, I think it's quite old. It is something like Christians in Mecca or something like that, which is a record of Christians in the early centuries visiting Mecca and talking about it or something.
No. And I think you're making that up. I'm a former addict and convict, and your story has inspired me. I turned to Islam with my brothers in jail, and all they did was hate. Jesus saved me. Sounds like a trajectory I'm quite familiar with. All right, you ready to get back into this video?
Sounds pretty based. Yeah, let's do this.
Very based.
I'm from a Pakistani Mirpuri background. I'm classed as first generation born and raised to Pakistani immigrant parents in 1965. And very unfortunately, myself, my family, we've suffered grave persecution in a place called Bradford, West Yorkshire, in the north part of the country. I myself am born and raised in Birmingham, which is the second largest city here in England. And we suffered about 18 years of persecution, religious persecution.
In the UK?
Yes, sir.
Because most people in the West, if they hear that you're an ex-Muslim in the UK, they might think something like, well, it's great that you're in the UK and not, like Pakistan or something like that. But you're saying there's persecution of ex-Muslims here in the UK?
Yeah. In certain respects, I would say it's far worse. Because, but before I sort of jump ahead of myself, it literally was Sharia enforcement. It started around about a couple of years after people found out one of my best friends deserted us. He said, look, you are, in their estimation, a kufr, kafir, unbeliever, infidel. That's it. And he basically washed his hands of me. Then what happens is he tells another friend, somebody else, and before you know it, it goes out like wildfire. And you then suffer this religious persecution in the form of hatred, contempt, instant contempt. They simply can't contain themselves, and what I've found is that they're using British freedoms, laws, democracy against people like myself. So it is Sharia enforcement. There is no freedom for ex-Muslims. And what you find is that you then suffer criminal damage, persecution in the form of, it starts off mocking, jeering, dehumanizing myself, my wife, my children, referring to me as a Jewish so-and-so in not such nice words. So somehow, in their estimation,
Jewish.
I'm pretty sure what they meant was Zionists, because they don't have a problem with Jews. Nobody actually has a problem with Jews. They only have a problem with Zionists, of course. Isn't that true? Yeah. So
that's a good point.
Jew dog. That was one of the references they used to call.
They called him Jew dog.
Graffiti on the walls of my home. Car torchings, car rammings, drive-by brickings. You're under siege. We were forced out of our one home.
Now, you hear this? Back this up. You hear this is what this is how he and his family are treated in Bradford, in the UK, in Great Britain. It's Great Britain. He calls it Sharia enforcement. In other words, there are punishments. There are punishments for leaving Islam, even in the UK. So let me back this up because it sounds pretty rough.
So it is Sharia enforcement. There is no freedom for ex-Muslims. And what you find is that you then suffer criminal damage, persecution in the form of, it starts off mocking, jeering, dehumanizing myself, my wife, my children, referring to me as a Jewish so-and-so in not such nice words. So somehow, in their estimation, I'm a Jew dog. That was one of the references they used to call and daub graffiti on the walls of my home. Car torchings, car rammings, drive-by brickings, you're under siege. We were forced out of our one home back in 2006 after several years of suffering these type of things.
In the UK?
In the UK, yeah.
How are, like,
Look at these,
I'm from the US, and there are problematic places in the US, but
What are you saying?
Look at these stats. I'm looking at demographics of Bradford. 2001, 60% Christian, 16% Muslim. 2011, 45% Christian, 25% Muslim. 2021, 33% Christian, 30% Muslim.
You see?
It's probably Muslim is probably number one by now, or going there.
Or, yeah.
But hey, there is no Islamization. That don't be ridiculous. There's no Islam. No, that's a conspiracy theory.
And since Islam is so good, we know that life is going to get way better there, the higher the percentage of Muslims in the population there becomes. So he was in an area that is now pretty even between Muslims and Christians in the UK.
it sounds insane that this is allowed to go on.
David, I would like to say, nothing has prepared me and my family for this type of onslaught where you're under siege and you are treated as a dhimmi, second class, third class, scum of the earth, and you need to be eradicated from our home, from our area. We were forced out of one home. In life and death situations, we try to rebuild our life from 2006 onwards, and then again, the same scenario repeats itself. And it culminated in our second home, abuse, religious persecution. You're made to feel, as I say, inferior. They want to dehumanize you. Belittle you. Actually, they just don't treat you as human. You are just a infidel dog, actually. And this it reminds me of what people suffer in Saudi Arabia or the Muslim lands or Pakistan. And as I said, in some aspects, it's been far worse because it's been aided and abetted by the police, who have failed to take decisive action because of fear of being labeled as racist, and that key word that they use, Islamophobic.
So,
you guys, you hear this? So he's talking about being forced out of his home because of repeated attacks, having to go somewhere else, and then facing the same thing there. And police don't stop it because they're worried about being called names. They're worried about being called Islamophobes.
Yeah, that was the same thing with. It officially came out that is how a whole grooming gang investigation was suppressed officially by trying to suppress it, trying not to see it because of the fear of being called racist and Islamophobic. And
I think I bring this up right here in this video, if I recall correctly, because that's obviously what would have come to my mind instantly. Hey, that's kind of like the grooming gangs.
Just to be clear, this is a similar situation to with the grooming gangs, where
there's
police know what's going on. It's reported to police over and over again in thousands of cases what's going on, and they do nothing and look the other way because they're terrified of being called racist. You're saying it's very similar for ex-Muslims.
Precisely that, actually, precisely that. And so, because they are terrified, not only of being labeled racist and Islamophobic, this key word that they've used, but they are fearful of Muslim backlash in the form of violence, Islamic rage, and as not to stoke tensions, even as far as Theresa May, our previous Prime Minister. So for me, it culminated, and my family, in a most brutal attack on me back in November 2015, where I was almost bludgeoned to death, getting into my car. And I knew of this intended, how can I say, unwarranted action against me.
So just to be clear, this is because you're an ex-Muslim. This is not a random robbery or something like that you're being attacked.
No, not at all. It's because I'm an ex-Muslim. Because we lived the new address. We lived fine for 2 years up until it was then told everywhere he's a convert. He's an infidel. He's a kufr. He's a kafir. Don't associate with him. And the same contempt then goes against you again, and it culminated in a brutal attack on me where I was kneecapped and suffered a broken hand trying to protect my head from being bludgeoned in. If it wasn't for this is November of 2015, if it wasn't for the intervention of two Polish neighbors several doors away who happened to be outside, it was the fall, it was dark, and they were outside having a chat, two of them, and a smoke. And when they saw me, they didn't know it was me at the time, but they just saw a figure on the floor being bashed in with pickaxe handles, solid hickory wood, that they came to my aid. And these perpetrators then, they were Muslims, they fled. It was caught on home CCTV. And of course, as per usual, the police brushed it under the carpet. Again, you mentioned this grooming gang scandal. In a similar vein, the poor parents were lamenting to the police to deliver their kids from the rape gangs, and the police would very often threaten the parents with arrest because they just didn't want to tackle this thing. And so the police have never acknowledged apostasy. So apostasy is a cardinal sin, which you'll know full well, David, after murder and adultery. But apostasy seems to carry quite a heavy tag. And so Sharia enforcement is very much alive and kicking. So after my attack...
So this is after he'd been forced out of one place, went to another place. He said he was fine. They were okay there for 2 years until people start catching on. Right. So when people don't know him, he's fine. They eventually catch on and spread the news that there's an apostate over there. They attack him with what do you say, pickaxe sandals. And hey, this would be good. This would be good for Visegrad to interview him. Those guys are Polish. And this guy's talking about how two random Polish guys came to his rescue as they're trying to beat him to death.
Yeah, that could be an idea. But the thing is, I understand his suffering and his, the threats to his life and his safety and all of that. But isn't it counterproductive to sit down and talk about this? Because what about the backlash against Muslims as a result of this?
That is, I mean, it's you're obvious. Everyone knows AP's obviously joking, but yeah, it's exactly what it's exactly what the Council on American Islamic Relations does after every single terrorist attack. I mean, the bodies are still warm from some guy screaming Allahu Akbar, slaughtering them, and Carol will be going, "Oh, you see, this is the sort of thing that leads to anti-Muslim discrimination, and look at the backlash that's going to come. We need to take some." Because what happens? Then the media politicians and the media are all warned, if you talk about this could cause a backlash. Do you want to cause a backlash against the Muslim community? Are you trying to get Muslims killed? And then what happens? People don't report it, or they don't report it accurately, or they don't report it. They don't give the relevant details and so on. They're just careful not to mention that this has anything to do with Islam and so on. They're careful to say, oh, and the motive's still completely a mystery to police. The point is, ladies and gentlemen, it works. It's evil, but it works. We've seen it. If you actually convince the leaders of a population, the government, the journalists, the police, you convince them that you are a victim and that reporting on anything your community is doing will make them oppressors and make you even more victims, they'll keep their mouths shut and they will gladly send you thousands and thousands of 12-year-old girls as an offering to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you got that's in the UK. Here in the US, we've got the Council on American Islamic Relations trying to do the same darn thing, where no matter what any jihadi does, no matter what any gang of thugs does, you keep your mouth shut about it. Or you're a bigot and an Islamophobe and you don't want to be called names.
True.
Yep. Well, good. We all have our priorities right.
It took me several months to get back on my feet. I underwent 2 operations. I had to get my hand and my kneecap wired up. But the trauma, the emotional, mental side of it, takes a lot longer. But anyway, a year to the day after my attack in November 2016, I was descended upon by 10 armed police in a SWAT-style operation at my Bradford home to say that they could not leave us out of their sight because they had gathered intelligence to suggest our lives were in imminent danger. And we were escorted at that point by 4 armed police vehicles onto the motorway because I refused to have their assistance by going to a safe refuge in Bradford. And I left, and I didn't want to divulge where I was going to the police. However, what they said was they'd be happy to escort me onto the motorway. And they drove 20, 30 miles along the motorway, sandwiched between, or in a convoy of 4 armed police vehicles, 10 armed police. And we were then let go to go wherever we wanted. And so, in essence, we left our home in November of 2016. So as somebody who's born and raised here, I cannot express the failure of the government, of the police. This is a failed state where ex-Muslims are concerned. And of course, we live in a terrible danger and jeopardy, not knowing what can happen because of Islamic Sharia enforcement.
He's saying the state has failed to protect him. And some of you are thinking, what are you talking about? The police did swoop in and tell him that he was about to be murdered. Given how these police act around the girls of the grooming gangs and so on, and all this stuff, I'm not convinced that this has anything to do with them caring about this guy. We don't want a murder to tarnish the Muslim community here, because that might actually break through in the news. If an ex-Muslim is killed for being an ex-Muslim in the UK, we got to get this guy out of here before something could lead to a backlash.
I mean, I just can't take anything that the police does in the UK seriously in this regard. I talked about this whole thing where Ali Dawa made that video about saying I should be killed, and he would be proud of that, and Muslims would be watching, and I did send that video and all of the evidence surrounding it to the police, to the Met Police in London, and their response after so much back and forth, despite me pushing again and pointing out hypocrisy, was that they don't see a problem in what Ali Dawa said when he said that people like me who leave their religion and spread it should be executed, and he's proud of that, and Muslims will be watching. They said it's not a problem because obviously he is just somebody who is very religious and very passionate about his religion, and that's
like all
why
all the guys that tried to kill Nasarhu.
Yeah. it's so funny. Like even seriously, when I talked to the FBI about this on one of our regular visits, and I just said, oh yeah, I just received this and this. There's just this and this video out there. They took serious note of that and said this is a very serious problem that such a video is out there, and um, they would have to look out for whoever gets incited by that video and then takes action, because if that leads to incitement and leads to somebody actually taking matters into their own hands and killing somebody for leaving Islam and spreading it, the person who made the video would get in trouble. And this is what the FBI says. Whereas where we have free speech, where the video itself is not directly considered an act that is punishable. Over in the UK, where there are actual hate speech laws, where you can actually go to prison and pay fines for, offending people, they don't see that as a problem. But if you go into a space and start mocking the Muslim prayer, they will come at your door and fine you, or put you away for a while. Or if you say Muhammad was a child molester out in public, they will punish you. If you, however, say apostates should be killed, and we're proud of that, they're like, well, seems like these Muslims are just very passionate about their beliefs. Ridiculous.
Yeah. So you have people like Ali Dawa going around, and an Islamic State, blah, 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 blah. And people are thinking, oh, but he's not actually calling for people to die right now. So it's a very moderate view. But he's one of the people who keeps the belief constantly in the minds of Muslims that people who leave Islam have to die. And then what do people do? They persecute him. And then, so what's going on here? If this situation were reversed, if this were non-Muslims calling for some world where Muslims are going to be killed, and that this was actually leading to violence against Muslims, it would be shut down in a heartbeat, And yet, here you have ex-Muslim being repeatedly attacked, having to flee multiple places in the UK. And apart from making sure that he doesn't actually get killed, they don't want to help this guy at all.
So we are now living, and have been for the last 7 years, as internally displaced people, as refugees born in my own country.
And
little side note, when I would talk to some of the people who were talking about being ex-Muslims and how they're treated in the UK, they seem to seriously think it's like this everywhere in the US. They're like, I mean, everywhere else in the West. They're like, is it like this in the US too? And no, like you could find areas where it might be like that, but no, that would be very rare in the US, that, Muslims could just constantly thug out and beat you up and constantly harass and pester you and break your stuff and throw bricks through your window and set things on fire and attack you, and nothing ever happens because no one wants to hurt their feelings. So anyway, yeah, some places are better than others.
you have the Dawa guys on YouTube calling for public executions of ex-Muslims right here in Great Britain. YouTube does nothing to stop them. Great Britain does nothing to stop them. I mean, there were threats directed at my friend the Apostate Prophet, and it was reported to the British police, and they didn't take it seriously. YouTube doesn't care. It's still on YouTube. The threats are on YouTube, and we all know.
What?
Me?
No, my Aunt Maple.
That if the situation were reversed, if it were you or the Apostate Prophet threatening.
Hey, this is funny. I just said this because I forgot that I'd brought it up, but it's interesting how your brain will react in the exact same way after hearing it a second time.
Muslims, everyone would jump into action. And so it seems like as long as, if you were still a Muslim, the British police would bend over backwards to do anything to stop anyone from bothering you, would not tolerate any aggression towards you. But as soon as you leave Islam, you're basically You're basically garbage.
You're dead man walking. So you have to get out of these Muslim majority areas or what they call community areas.
Did you guys hear this? It says if you leave Islam and you're in a heavily Muslim area, he said you're a dead man walking. You have to get out of there.
I heard the same thing from other ex-Muslims in the UK, who told me that I think they said East London and North London, certain parts, you just can't go there. You can't be there if it is known that you're an ex-Muslim, especially if you're outspoken. If people know your name, you can't be there. You have to be far away from there in a proper place where it is more expensive to live.
That's exactly that's what I heard from everyone.
Yeah.
It was I could no longer live in an area with lots of Muslims around, and therefore I had to move to a much more expensive area.
Yeah.
And then of course they have trouble paying their bills because there's like well, here's a place I can afford, but I'll get killed here, so I have to go to a place that I can't afford because it's the only way to keep my family safe. And that is a story I heard multiple times.
So I'm not surprised in the least concerning your friend, the apostate prophet, because I myself, just like the blasphemy law of Pakistan working against Pakistani Christians, the same spirit, the same mentality exists here. I have lost count of the times I've been arrested myself on false allegation of arrest because they form these mobs. And although the catalyst was a Pakistani clan family and quite a demented clan family because of their religious sensitivities, based on their religious sensitivities, to make the area halal and clean us from our home and our abode. In actual fact, it's a deep-seated security. However, they are acted upon their religion and what they deem to be appropriate and right as per the Quran and the sayings of Muhammad and his teachings. So there is no middle ground, there is no tolerance, there is no acceptance.
Did you say Muhammad?
I myself, personally, David, for your information, when Ali Dawa was making videos of death and destruction to us, the kuffar, I went along and complained to the police, and they were going to deal with it, make an investigation. It came to nothing. They have, in a nutshell, they have made these people a protected class. They cannot do any wrong. And if I can use a brief example, David, I'm sure you're aware, just a matter of days ago in Mannheim, in Germany, an Afghanistani refugee went to an intended far-right meeting while they were still setting up a dozen volunteers. He went on a stabbing spree. The police came in quick time, and the perpetrator was held down by one of the event organizers, a volunteer. And the police came and they saw, in their multiculturalism, diversity, inclusion mindset, saw this indigenous German chap pinning down the Afghanistani chappie, and they grabbed him, this officer, then pulled him away and off the assailant. And while the officer pinned down this indigenous German, the Afghanistani refugee leapt to his feet, stabbed the officer several times around his head and his neck before he was shot, not killed, shot and disabled. And the poor police officer, a 29-year-old gentleman, lost his life the following day.
And then it gets reported as a police officer stabbed at far right rally, as if they did it.
The cover-up over the last 20 years of our suffering has been phenomenal. It is covered up to such extremes that, again, they've become such a protected class of people. They cannot do no harm, they cannot do no wrong. And I genuinely fear for Europe, I genuinely fear for this country because of the terrible, appalling dilemma of ex-Muslims. And I hope to God America wakes up and does not relent to this multiculturalism, diversity and inclusion. It should be the case that you follow the rules of the land and you obey American law, and they should here likewise be obeying British rule of law, not having their parallel Sharia laws, which is happening all over the West.
Seems like now or never.
That
Now
sounds
or
pretty
never.
Islam.
That was very Islamophobic, AP.
Sounds very Islamophobic, very problematic right there. It's. I understand you want people to follow the law. However, Muslims should be exempt from following the law of the land, if it's the West, because Western laws are made for Western people, and it's probably difficult for Muslims to follow the law that Western people make with their Western values. So obviously, I would say that as a people in the West, we should make sure that Muslims are always exempt from following the law, that they should not be held to the same standards, and that even if they commit severe crimes, that they should be always forgiven. Whereas if others do the same thing, they should be imprisoned, or even executed.
You know what's weird? It's Western officials and journalists and so on. They come at this from a completely different perspective, but the results are the same. In Islam, Muslims are the best of peoples ever raised up for mankind. Unbelievers are inferior. We're the worst of creatures. So, best of peoples, Muslims, worst of creatures, us. Should we be able to tell them what they have to do? In Islam, no, of course not. Of course not. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? They're the best of peoples. They're coming as our lords, right? We have to obey them. So that's the Islamic mentality. But as far as people in the West in positions of power and authority and so on, so your politicians, your educators, your journalists, and so on, it's actually reversed, where they think of Muslims as like savages and barbarians and so on, and perpetual victims, and they're just you can't hold them to the same level of accountability that you hold other people. What do you do? What do you mean you expect them to behave in a certain way? What are you talking about? You can't expect them to follow the rules like everyone else. So they treat them as actually like subhuman. And so what's amazing is like the mentality is completely reversed, and yet the result is the same. They don't have to follow the same rules that everyone else follows. And so if it's an ex-Muslim and they're repeatedly attacking him and trying to kill him, from the Islamic perspective, what are you talking about? This guy deserves this. He's inferior. He's garbage. He has disgraced himself and his family and insulted Allah. And this is what he gets for leaving the superior position. And if this is what he wants to be, then we'll treat him accordingly. But from the perspective of the police and politicians and journalists, it's, well, what do you expect? Do you have any idea how enraging that would be to these poor, primitive people? And that's how they treat them. And so it's this interesting situation where those of us who are sitting there saying, these are the rules, follow them, we're actually treating them better than the people who are kind of agreeing with them that they don't have to follow the rules. We're like treating them like human beings.
There is a point that people have, which is that if a Western person does something, someone in the West does something, they should be held accountable, because they can obviously also abstain from doing that certain thing. It could have been preventable. When a Muslim does something, can you really expect them to not do that certain thing? Because they just don't know better. So what do you expect?
Yeah, and another thing we've pointed out in completely different contexts is the Jews, of course. So you
They're
have
stupid
these
humans.
Yeah, they're held to a standard beyond anything that any other human beings on the planet are held to, right? It's like, so here's the as far as like the politicians and the journalists and so on, it's like, here's a normal level of human behavior in society. And they think, oh, this is what you should expect from Muslims, and you can't expect anything better than that. And here's what you have to expect from Jews, and you can't settle for anything less than that. So this is wild stuff, man. Wild
The
stuff.
Jews even need to build cities and societies so that we can sit there all this time and not do anything, and then later claim that it actually belongs to us, and then go and take it. That's what they do, because we are not good enough. The Jews, however, they're superhumans. They make everything, and then we take it.
Hey, that would actually be funny if if Israel eventually said, you know what, if you guys want this place back so bad, we're going to give it to you. Only thing is, we're destroying everything we built, and we're leaving it in the status it was when we got it several decades ago. So have fun. And everyone's going to be like, huh? What is this place? We're fighting over this? It's just a big, there's nothing here.
And when they got it, aside from those places that were without interruption Jewish, much of it was empty, barren, or it was just unlivable, disease-ridden. Like, people don't know, but the Zionists, Israel actually had to do significant work to get rid of malaria on the western coast of Israel. It was unlivable.
Pretty rough. All right, so I got one more clip that I have a bunch of clips that I recorded from over there. I have two clips that we're going to be looking at during this live stream from ex-Muslims in the UK. So we checked out one, and there's another one that's a little shorter than that one. Let's take the super chats real quick, and then we'll jump into our next video. AP, you should not create a Discord server. That's funny. The wingalings are using reverse psychology. So if they want you to have a Discord server, they'll tell you not to have a Discord server, but they'll make it coming from a wingaling. Smart.
Yeah.
But we're on to your plan, and we're on to the constant, endless deception of the wingalings. We're not falling for it. Go ahead.
Yeah. Wingalings are the best of deceivers. D made a good point and said, wasn't the airport for Burak Airways in the region, though? So that was the only thing, actually, that was there. That was in Jerusalem. That was always standing. It was the most advanced airport, the Burak International Airport.
Yeah, you could fly out, visit a bunch of stuff, come back, and your bed would still be warm from peeing in it earlier.
Yeah. Yeah, but the evil Zionists destroyed it, of course, when they took it over. Yeah.
Let's see. Oops. God bless you all. Thank you. I'm into fitna. Fitting a whole pizza in my mouth.
That's nice.
That's impressive. Dr. Wood, you were great at Speaker's Corner, like Hatun Tosh. You are a brave soul. By the way, Keir Starmer is set to win big as Britain's PM. He will outlaw all criticism of Islam. Britain will fall. Sad. That will be funny to. I mean, it'll suck, but it'll be funny to watch.
That's the Labour Party guy. I heard some really bad stuff about him.
Yeah, I don't think they'll actually pull off banning all criticism of Islam, but they are putting that forward as a bill. In fact, I need to respond to one of the people who put together the response to that bill. Met him over there in the UK, and he has agreed. He gave me like a whatever it was, 20-some page response to the idea that this bill is a good thing. So, yep, that would be a good topic to discuss. But no, I don't think Britain is going to fall. I just think it's going to be way, way, way more painful and messy and terrible than it needed to be if people had the slightest bit of common sense.
Well, I'm getting confusing things out of the election polls, but I'm going to look further at it. But Nigel Farage is apparently, his party is apparently rising very sharply.
Is that the Reform Party? The Reform, is that the one?
Yeah, Reform. Nigel Farage is the guy who led the whole campaign of Brexit and all that.
Yeah, that's exactly what you're going to end up with. The European systems are different from the American two-party system, in that you can have all these different parties and stuff like this, and they'll have to form like coalition governments and so on in various places in Europe. I still don't get all the details, but as things get worse, things are going to polarize into basically two sides. That's what you're going to end up with. You're going to end up with this is the side that's doing everything in their power to Islamize the entire country, and over here, these are the people who are trying to avoid that from happening, and everyone's going to rally around those two causes, because that's not going to be a time for all these other concerns you have in life. Those are going to become primary concerns, and so.
It's so the Conservative Party that is currently ruling has done such a terrible.
Didn't
they? They were elected last time during the elections with 44%. They are now at 20% according to polls. They're dipping brutally. And the Reform is at 16%. So Reform is actually going to overtake the Conservatives, as it seems right now. But Labour took over, and they are at 40%. So I don't know. Rough situation.
Rough times ahead. Can't say we didn't warn you. Can't say we didn't warn you. What did Great Britain do to their warners? Robert Spencer, Pamela Geller, everyone who's telling them what was going to happen, they banned them from the country. Meanwhile, bringing in as many jihadis as possible. Yeah. What do you mean by safe? What do you mean by great? What do you mean by R? Britain would only be great if the Americans returned with the NFL. That's true. Mike Winger is the type of guy to lick his finger every time he turns a page. Lloyd has awesome descriptions of Mike Winger. Doesn't Winger seem like that? Like he's sitting there reading the Quran. Oh, darn, I'm going to get slobber on the Quran by doing this, but I don't know. I'll risk it. So he's sitting here reading.
I don't really see it. I think Mike Winger looks like the coolest guy I've ever met in my life.
So. Good one, AP. AP got jokes.
I was totally serious.
AP, as a scientific exercise, you should attend a divine liturgy simply as a practical experiment and historical lesson to observe some of the traditional practices of the ancient church. It will be interesting, I promise you.
That sounds like an interesting trajectory. Yeah.
And he's pointing it out as a scientific exercise. You go in there with pen and paper and take notes.
Oh, okay. Inshallah.
I got called a Jew in AP's comment section on X. I feel so honored to be amongst the greats like AP and D Wood to get my hands on those shekels. Yeah, that is quite the honor. There are certain things they do when they have no more options and they don't know how to respond to you, and that's just some version of name calling or insults or something like that. So, yep.
Because I'm kind of in this at this spot where I can't decide who is worse. There are the two groups that always come in lately, especially right now. Whenever you talk about anything, they go, "You're a Jew, you're Jewish." Those are the Muslims and the Groypers.
The Groypers are bad.
I can't decide which one is worse. But the thing is, I actually feel worse. It actually feels slightly darker when it comes from the Groypers.
They seem more evil.
Yeah, they seem just generally more messed up, which is why I even made a post before where I said that they are, that to me it seems they are worse than even the Islamists, because at least the Islamists, they have some, they do everything for some properly established values and reasons, as messed up and as dumb as they are. Whereas these Groypers and neo-Nazis, they just seem like severely disturbed people. Mm-hmm. Severely disturbed people who have nothing productive, nothing to offer, nothing stupid to offer, just destruction and hate, and can be as vile as it gets. And the fact that it comes from Western people who are just among you and who are not from a different culture where things are just, built on hate and all that, but that they come from your culture and they have this completely insane, hateful attitude, makes it all a little bit more sinister. But yeah, it's Muslims and the Groypers right now. Always comment sections, they will say, "You're Jew. Of course you're Jewish." I take it as a compliment right now.
And if they say it about me, you're darn right I am. 2.7%, baby. I'm 2.7%
Yes.
kosher. Kosher is Christmas. I am 28, and in all severity, please stop using the language of Gen Z, just like the last letter of our alphabet. The rot and idiotic trends by them is sus.
That's pretty big.
I was with you right until the sus.
Yeah,
Mossad's leather strip.
the whole Gen Z thing is kind of busting, but it's also cringe. Yeah.
Being an ex-Muslim in Britain is like taking your children to Daniel Hakikachu's daycare. Not a good idea at all. That is very, very true. Don't pull on Superman's cape. Don't spit into the wind. Don't pull the mask off the old Lone Ranger. And don't take your kids to Daniel Hakikachu's daycare.
I don't know why that sounds so funny to me.
We need to start. We need to make that a thing, like on Twitter and stuff like that. And this is as dumb as taking your kids to Daniel Hakikachu's daycare. Could you imagine that dude? What's creepy is I can imagine that dude starting a daycare and be like, "And I will raise your kids according to good Islamic principles." And the dumb parents, "Oh, what a great idea! Oh, so based." This convert man is truly beloved by our Lord, a man whom suffered for our Lord, so too our Lord has suffered for us. Yeah, it is. I mean, keep in mind as we figure out what to do to respond to the problem, these are, at the end of the day, Christians who are being persecuted for their faith and for their courage in leaving Islam. So,
you know what's funny to me? Recently, we were talking about how ex-Muslims are unsafe and how they're mistreated and things like that, and they have to hide their identity and all that. And then Rebecca sent me a message and said, "You know what? It's very strange to me when you guys talk about how ex-Muslims feel unsafe in the West, because here in Israel, they're just ex-Muslims everywhere, and they're totally fine. And they openly say that they're ex-Muslims, and they're converts to Judaism, or they're atheists, they're Christians, and it's totally fine. Like they're safe from any kind of persecution. And isn't that just very, very funny?"
No wonder Hamas wants it all.
Yeah.
They do all this to this man, and the same people cry when we criticize the PDF of a prophet. Yes, that's the great irony in all this. Look at, I mean, you've got Ali Dawa. I mean, just perfect example, but you could pick any of these guys, right? Ali Dawa. Yeah, we's gonna chop your heads off and so on and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I was gonna be eating the popcorn and yeah, I would give my 9-year-old away to tell her you're ready to be married and so on. And we say, hey, your prophet's messed up. And they go, oh, we can't believe you're so intolerant. Yeah, well, oh my goodness, look at the bigotry and Islamophobia. It's like, if you're putting forward some of the most horrifyingly evil ideas, you don't get to scream, oh, we're being oppressed here when people criticize us. You just don't. You don't want to be criticized. Have a less insane position. Powerful. This interview can't be true. Islam is a religion of peace, I tell you. Shakes fist angrily. That's good. Good job. Muslims wish to conquer the world in order to spread cultural enrichment, such as incest, goat sex, burning hatred for work. A burning hatred for work. Seems like they have everything in check and much to offer the world. That was one of the most Islamophobic super chats ever.
But it was also very culturally enriching. So,
DGW, what's that stand for?
DGW. I don't know.
DGW, this mega church I saw today, is it a limited time offer? Oh, mega merch. Is it a limited time offer, or can I wait till the start of July? What writing says Quran shirt is considered Quran? Oh yeah, so in the description box, and I posted in a community post, by popular demand, after I wore a Quran shirt to Speaker's Corner, I got a lot of requests for getting that Quran shirt. That was, I gave Elle the idea of what I was looking for, and Elle did the graphic design and so on. But I put a link up to the store that printed the place. So if anyone wants one, the link's in the description box. You can click on it and get one. So the question here is this a limited time offer, or can I wait till the start of July? So my response is, it's not a limited time offer as far as I'm concerned. That will just be on the store, in the merch store. However, I anticipate complaints coming in. And most stores, I don't know about this store. Most stores back down when they start getting complaints. This is Islamophobic, and they instantly back down. Even though that same, and you could do this. I guarantee if you go to that merch store, there will be all kinds of T-shirts mocking Christianity, mocking Jesus, and so on. That will all be fine. But if I make some bulletproof body armor, then I'm the bad guy. But so yeah, I'm not taking it down. It will be up. It's very possible that it's going to be taken down due to complaints, as we've seen so frequently in the past.
Oh, I know what DGW is. It's Dawa Gone Wild.
Dawa Gone Wild. Oh, yeah. We got to do something like that. Dawa Gone Wild. Wait. They're trying to figure out how to blur out girls' hair and stuff like that. Oh, look at the hair. Did you ever see that? Did you ever see that Key and Peele skit where they play to Arabs guys who are trying to check out girls' ankles as they're walking by?
They did that.
I saw the ankle.
That's funny.
Yeah, they did. It was actually funny. Which English translation of the Quran is the most verbatim and does not sugarcoat the scriptures to make it more palatable? I want to read it to be better educated on the subject in conversations.
The New American Standard Quran. Yeah.
The King James Quran.
I personally prefer Sahih International, but because it's more truthful than some of the others, but it's also a little bit sometimes it gets a little bit broken English. Mm-hmm. But there are some that are not that much known. But Arbery, for example, is a very literal one.
Pickthall. I've seen lots of people praise the accuracy of Pickthall quite a bit. Problem there is it's written in like King James English. A lot of the older Qurans, they tried to make them sound like the King James Bible to make it sound holier to Christians in the West and so on. So there's that. Some people say the Haleli Khan, but they pack a lot of stuff in there. They add a lot of parenthetical stuff in there for people.
KJQ.
As far as just reading, because you have a couple of issues. AP was talking about the accuracy of the Sahih International, but the broken English. Those are the kinds of concerns that some may be more accurate, but they're harder to read. Some may be easier to read, but they're less accurate and so on. So it's going to kind of depend on what you're going for. The Oxford version it's translated by Guy Halim. I wouldn't put that in the most accurate category, but it's the easiest. It was the easiest to read.
It is. I think that's what's good about that one. It is easy to read. It's readable. It makes it more readable. But that's my problem with it.
Yeah,
that's the problem with it because
the easier it is to read, the less it's like the authentic Quran.
Yes. When I read it, it doesn't sound like the Quran. It sounds much more like smoothened and turned into something that is actually good. So That's not very accurate. The Quran is a terrible read, and when you have accurate translations of it, it is still going to be a terrible book. However, if you just want to read it to get the idea of it, you could get this what's it, Abdul Halim, whatever, that version. If you want more accuracy, you could go for something different. The accurate ones are worse.
Yeah. So what you generally want to do,
M.A.S. Halim, Abdul Halim. Okay, yeah, that's him.
I would suggest, if you're one of the people who wants to read the entire Quran all the way through, I would get something like the Halim translation just to be able to make it through. If you want to look up passages, specific passages to be used for apologetics or polemics or something like that, you want to familiarize yourself with the important passages, there I would just get a couple different translations to compare them. You know what I mean? In other words, I would have this one, I would have the Sahih International, I'd have the Pickthall, and then if I would read it in multiple versions.
Based.
Yes, indeed, based. I don't think the wave of Islam will stop. It's important to think about what this means metaphysically. Does a metaphysical matter? What would a world under Islam look like for the human spirit? Why is an evil ideology so powerful? We should ask these questions.
It's because it's powerful.
Yeah. Waves of Islam do stop when people stop them. That just happens.
Waves upon waves.
Waves
like the
upon
Quran.
waves. And you look and you go, wow, there's layers and waves. If you're talking about metaphysically as like, if you mean like spiritually, those are relevant questions. Why is this, which is so obviously sick and evil, why is it so hard to deal with? And why does common sense go out the window whenever we're talking about it?
It is a metaphysical matter.
America will relent to Islam. The world is bound to evil in its core, but ultimately human beings are owed to God. He paid for us on the cross. Hey, someone here has gone to the Apostate Prophet School of Negative Nancy viewing everything. Damn, the world is bound. America will relent to Islam.
Alhamdulillah.
America actually has an advantage here. America has an advantage here in that lots of European nations are going through this ahead of the U.S. And if you go back 20 years when we were saying, guys, do you know what's going to happen if Islam spreads? Here's what's going to happen. And everyone said, liars, that will never happen. No, the more Islam spreads, the better everything will be because Islam is so wonderful and peaceful and so on. And no, they're not trying to actually take over area and chop heads off and have child marriage. They're not doing any of this. That's a lie, you liar. Well, guess what? After it happens over and over again, it becomes way more difficult to deny. In other words, suppose, I don't think it's going to happen. Suppose European nations started going full Islamic. And then we're warning people in the U.S. Going to be very difficult to say, no, that's not what Islam does when we see it happening repeatedly. Right? So, yes, we cannot expect much from people whose final conclusion before they die is that Islam is true. They do not have certain faculties to be better. That's pretty Islamophobic.
Yes, we can.
Hey, David, I want to be able to talk to Muslims about Christianity, but I often become frustrated when they try to defend Islam. How can I address this? We'll stop becoming so frustrated.
Yeah.
No, it can be frustrating if someone's like, oh, and because the amazing scientific miracles, and someone's like, come on, dude, seriously? Or if they're defending like child marriages and so on.
You could always have a pillow with you when you discuss with Muslims, and then always, if you get too outraged, you could scream into the pillow.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
yeah,
and continue.
Yeah, you might want to. Yeah. That's a tough call, but yeah, if you get more emotional than you want, then figure out a way to control that or come up with a different plan. But yeah, I mean, something that could possibly help if you're getting frustrated. How could this guy be defending this stuff? Is keep in mind, think of the person as a victim, that this person has been manipulated and brainwashed his entire life and so on. So think of the person as a victim, not as some evil person who's saying, oh, I'm going to wake up today and defend child marriage. It's no, you've been manipulated all your life into thinking that Muhammad is the greatest example for mankind and so on. And so you have a tendency to try to defend it.
Yeah, that's true.
What about using the military to enforce English laws? Well, if the English are about to make a law against criticizing Islam, yeah, I'm sure they'll have the military enforcing it. I choose the heavily armed cow. That's a good choice. AP, since it's proven Israel is the eternal nation, would you now acknowledge the God of Israel?
Alhamdulillah.
You heard it here, folks. AP, you and your wife said on a member stream you would be starting a Discord. What's up with the Discord all of a sudden? Do we need to create an unofficial AP D Wood Discord?
Alhamdulillah.
My kids tried to explain Discord to me at some point. It seemed like just messages or something.
Yeah, it is a good platform. It was initially, I think, created for gaming, and gamers would get together.
I heard that first syllable and I was like, what? It was originally created for gay. And I was like, hey, what's going on here? And then, nope, gaming.
And then for gay mingling. And then
for gay men, yeah.
It was created for gamers, and it is still used very much by gamers.
Did you say groomers?
Yeah, and groomers to communicate in a very easy way with servers that have different rooms for texting and video talking and audio conversation and all that. It's a very nice platform, actually. Very, very nice. And so it expanded far beyond gaming. It's now includes all kinds of different communities, all kinds of businesses, online communities, forums,
all kinds of groomers.
Yeah, all different groomers. Everyone uses Discord now. It's a very nice system. Yeah.
Let's see. 22nd of August is International Apostasy Day for Muslims. Please share the date so more Muslims can rally together with other secret apostates. You familiar with this, AP? Is this a real thing?
I don't know when it is, but there is
you
a
heard of
thing
that before. Apostasy.
Yeah, apostasy.
How are you going to have a single day for all these apostates? They should have their own month, by golly.
Oh yeah, Apostasy Day, August 22nd. Alhamdulillah.
We should do something. We should have a mega, if this is an actual thing, we should have a big mega stream and bring on all the ex-Muslims we can find.
We should. And we should also try to pass legislation to make August 22nd a national holiday across nations in the world.
And we should get more legislation to make it illegal to criticize an ex-Muslim for leaving Islam.
And we should even make it illegal not to participate in Apostasy Day.
Here we have a bunch of more whatever gibberish from an AP fan. Pamela says, God bless you both in this spiritual battle that is being waged. May God keep protecting you both and arming you in this battle. Thank you for revealing this dangerous way of death. Dangerous way of death. Good description. Well, I'm very skeptical of the politicians, hoping for the best. No, not the politicians. The people. The people. The people are the only way out of this mess. But I'm pointing out that the people, once the people catch on, the people will rally around a politician.
But the people.
Any explicit source explaining how Muhammad was pranked or exposed by Medina Jews, leading to his Jew hatred? Video comparing before and after Medina will be interesting.
It would be interesting to analyze. It would be funny to do. It would be an interesting thing. I don't know if ever anyone academically went into just analyzing that aspect of Muhammad's interactions with the Jews and how it started and how it ended. But that would be a very interesting thing to actually look at. I think it's just kind of hard to chronologically put
Yeah.
the narrations and everything in order, but it was quite clear, and you could compile all the narrations according to which the Jews came to Muhammad and asked him questions and mocked him or whatever, or praised him or things like that, allegedly.
Yeah, and you have these situations where are they pranking him there or not, and you kind of can't tell. But it would be
But
good to sort of line all these things up and make calls, because guess what? We actually know they were into pranks. I mean, that's what got the first tribe kicked out, was they played a prank on a Muslim woman, and then Muhammad wanted to execute them all, and so on. So you have that they were actual pranksters, and it's suggested as a solution for all kinds of other mysteries in Islam. Like so, there's an issue. Why is Jesus called Isa in the Quran? Why is he called Isa? That's not the Arabic version of Yeshua. It's not. So why is he called Isa? Isa is the Arabic version of Esau. Completely different name. So why is he called Isa? Well, no one actually knows. There are various suggestions, but one of the suggestions is that Muhammad was more around Jews by far. And so he may have heard the Jews referring to Jesus as Esau as an insult, because that was an enemy of the Jewish people. And so it's a suggestion that Muhammad just heard some Jews who were telling him that the name of Jesus is Isa, and he didn't know any better. And so anyway, so there are lots of possibilities, because they clearly thought he was a joke, and they clearly liked messing with him. And so, yeah, we might have to do a little research project one day.
They were the ultimate trolls, the Jewish trolls.
Let's see.
Good humor.
They all have the same spirit of hate because they have the same father, Satan. I don't know who you're talking about, but that is a mean way to talk about them. Solitary Emmy says, Muslims are made to hate because of Islam. What's everyone talking trash about Muslims for? But the Groypers hate. Oh, this is a comparison of the Groypers. But the Groypers hate out of their free will. So Groypers might be worse in this regard.
Alhamdulillah.
There's
actually a different
terrible people.
Yeah, they're horrible people. There is a different theory on the whole how Yeshua became Isa thing, and that is it has to do with I'm not the person to explain this, but there's actually a video. I think it was by one of those channels that talks exclusively about religion as an interesting field, and it was explained in linguistic differences and misunderstandings, where although Hebrew and Arabic are related, with a little bit of distance, the sounds switch between the languages. Different similar sounds switch around in these different languages. So Yeshu becomes Isa, and when it should actually be the opposite. The glottal sound should not be at the beginning in Arabic. It should come later. However, they somehow reversed it. But there is a very interesting video to look at, which I would definitely check out. I just have to find the title of it. But I think it's like how Jesus became Isa or something.
No, you can't just make stuff up like that.
Yes, I can.
Where is the safest place for ex-Muslims? Probably certain areas of Texas. There are just lots of areas where you don't have a lot of Muslims. Keep in mind, there are plenty of Muslims that an ex-Muslim would be totally safe around, but there's always this percentage. There's always some percentage that thinks, "Oh, I have to do something about this." And so, if you're in an area that doesn't have a lot of Muslims, there probably wouldn't be a lot of that.
Alhamdulillah. Oh, the video is called "The Origin of the Quran's Name for Jesus" by Religion for Breakfast. I don't like everything that this channel does.
It sounds
but
like
it
a
is an
stupid channel if it's called Religion for Breakfast. Sounds like they're saying, we eat religion for breakfast. Probably a dumb atheist channel.
But it is an interesting perspective to look at. Might not be totally accurate. And there's also the fact that Christian Arabs actually don't say Isa. They say to this day. It's like I think they refer to him as Yeshua in Arabic. Yeah, Alhamdulillah.
More weird comments about rizzing up Ali Dawa from one of AP's fans. DC Isaac says, have you seen the new trend of people calling out Nick Fuentes on X as a commie psyop paid by the feds to divide the right? Very funny to watch. Is that the new theory? You seen that?
I don't know. It makes sense because that's what they always do. The gropers, they always accuse everyone of being a psyop planted by the Zionist Jews.
And that may actually be the appropriate way to respond to people who think everything is a conspiracy, right? Everything's a conspiracy. Everything's a Jewish conspiracy. Matter of fact, that might be a funny conspiracy to flip back on them. Oh, you're being paid by Jews to cause division. So, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Nick Fuentes is secretly being paid by Jews to spread anti-Semitism, specifically so that Jews can say, "Oh, we're the victims here." See, why not?
That makes sense.
AP, did you read my email? I applied to be your personal live stream Arabic Muslim speech moaner. Alhamdu shawarma al falafel ibn tahini Jr.
Alhamdulillah, that's
There you
beautiful.
go. Want to check those out?
I think I briefly saw a preview of such an email. But we did bring up last time that we should probably have somebody who does that Islamic moaning the whole time when we are live, when we're talking, like.
You could do that with anything, like this guy's name. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And you got Westerners. Oh, it's so beautiful. Oh, I need to convert. Oh.
I want to cry. Yeah.
Muslim cowboy shahada. La ilaha pedophilia.
Beautiful. Wow.
No God. David Wood became a Sigma Heisenberg. What the heck? Quran shirt. Islamo, I drilled a hole in my Quran and used it before pillow talk. I need, what the heck? What is this weird stuff, man? Adam said 99% of Muslim apologists give the other 1%. 99% of Muslim apologists give the other 1% a bad name. That's actually a good description there. I'm going to steal that. Does anyone else use that, Adam? Because I'm going to steal it and I'm not giving anyone credit.
Good one.
I'll probably put 99% of Dawagandists give the other 1% a bad name. D. Wood suffers from winger derangement syndrome. Yes, winger is very deranged. Don't listen to these joke masters. The only good Quran is the Caliph Hafs 1453 Garkid brown leather imitation edition. The others are Sufi Jew corruption.
Oh, nice.
That's true. That's true.
All
right, we got some more, but let's check out this next video.
I heard that the Mike Winger translation of the Quran is also one that some people prefer.
Yeah, everything is put in Klingon so that only Star Trek nerds can understand it.
Oh, yeah. Didn't know that.
All right, AP, question right before we check out this next clip. What do you guys honestly think the future of the West will be?
Death and destruction.
Destruction, terror, and mayhem.
Alhamdulillah. No, I think that there is trouble ahead, and it was totally avoidable. But people like to be stupid and put themselves in trouble, and invite the trouble, and import the trouble, and tolerate the trouble, and protect the trouble. And so I would say that there is definitely there are definitely some tough times and some divisions ahead. I did say that I think it is not unlikely that with the growing population of Islamists who also nowadays openly say that they want to impose Islamic things, there would be attempts to change the laws of the UK and turn them Islamic, which won't work. but there could be attempts to just, do separatism or autonomy and ask for a Muslim nation inside the UK, or a Muslim nation that is independent from the UK, and things like that. Like there are these troubles they are totally possible to be seen in the future. But I don't think, to this day, I don't believe that that the West will be overrun and taken over by Islam or anything like that. It is very far from that. And if it got to a point where things got too serious, I still have this hope and still think that people would eventually wake up and say, you know what, we don't want to go back there. We don't want to go back. We don't want to do that. We want our freedoms and we want our rights. And America is of course protected, but the West is in danger. The West is being threatened. But yeah, I don't think that anything is going to be overrun and taken over by Islam.
Yeah. So, future of the West. If you've seen Mad Max Fury Road, pretty much like that.
Yeah. Yep.
Pretty much something like that. No, there's so many variables and there's so many changes that are new changes that it's very difficult to predict what the future is going to be like. I think the jihadi types are going to keep pushing too many buttons until there's a massive backlash against them. I think the new atheism is going to crumble, and that atheism will go back to kind of what it was. We talked about this before, but go back to what it was like in the 80s and 90s before it became super aggressive. I think that there will be some level of return to Christianity among people who left it, but I don't think you're getting any sort of full return. And one of the great mysteries of the future is, what do you do? What do you do if you're kind of going in the Richard Dawkins direction, where I recognize that this was helping me somehow, but I don't believe it, and I can't just treat it as if it's true. I don't know how people are going to deal with that issue. And so very unpredictable what's going to happen. But in addition to all that, again, you have changes that are like just the era of social media and so on, when you could polarize people very, very quickly, where people are becoming programmed to just wake up every day and what am I supposed to be attacking about? What am I supposed to be flipping out about? And so on. It's not clear human beings have not had to deal with this stuff before. And even if you fix some of the issues, you still have big, giant issues like that we kind of don't know, because it's new. It's kind of new. We're kind of going through it right now. And so, going to be interesting. The overarching issue, ladies and gentlemen, is the basic population of a society either has to have some sort of internal control, right? Like you modify your own behavior for the good of society, or you will have external control. You'll be controlled by government forces and so on. And so I can definitely predict that's going to happen. Like there's a return to sanity and good behavior and virtues and so on, in which case you could return to a functioning society. I'm not sure. I can't say with a straight face I think that's going to happen. I think you'll have some people pushing back in that direction, but I don't know how much social media and everything else throws off the hope of that being the future. And so if people can't figure out a way to maintain an internally stable society by having their own good, through their own self-control and good behavior, then you're going to have external forces impose order on you, and it won't be fun. But
I believe the children are the future. Yep.
Let them lead the way. Look at Lana here. Hey, David the Stick, when you going to say Shahada? You mess a lot of topics in Islam. Yeah, I do mess a lot of topics in Islam. But I don't know. Why don't you come up with a great defense of why I should believe in a semen-covered, demon-possessed, child-molesting, murdering rapist as the
Semen-covered
ultimate decider of everything I'm supposed to believe about the world. Make your case for that.
And it sounds like you were going into some rap, like the semen-covered, demon
Oh yeah,
possessed.
yeah.
Yeah.
And what's funny is, given the history where 20 years ago we say Muhammad had sex with a 9-year-old girl, they call us a liar. Now they celebrate it, and this is great. This is a great thing, right? You wonder if they're going to be like that with other issues, like being demon possessed and semen covered and stuff. Of course, he was demon possessed. It's so base. Yeah, it's so base to be. Like, what are they going to be defending 5-10 years from now? And of course, he worked out. We all walk around with the semen all over our clothes. It's a status symbol, yeah. And we all got a little child bride walking up behind us and scratching it off on the way to the mosque. Yeah. We's not ashamed. We's not ashamed of our prophet.
We're proud of that, yeah.
Oh, yeah, normal is over.
Is good, yeah.
Semen
Nor-
possessed.
Normal is overrated. Said months ago, you both asked me to remind you about the 22nd of August, i.e. International Apostasy Day, which is about 2 months from today. Cheers. So that is good. And that's why we tell people to remind us, because we will forget, especially
Stop
AP.
accusing me. I didn't tell anyone to remind me of anything.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you making that up? Anyway,
Yeah.
let's check out this next clip. This is Francis. Francis, another ex-Muslim. Let's check this out.
Pope Francis?
I am here at a conference in the UK. It's a polemics conference dealing with Islam, and there are a number of ex-Muslims here. Francis here is one of those ex-Muslims, so wow. Just a little over about 15, 20 years ago, I kept hearing that no one ever leaves Islam, but you did, so what's going on there?
Back in 2017, it was a blessing that my sister started having a row on Twitter and was introduced to you, basically, in your channel. So she left Islam after watching your videos. My mum left Islam because my sister showed her your videos. And then my mum brought me to hers, invited me over, and then showed me your videos. And that's how we three left Islam. But I have an autistic brother, so that doesn't count because the consciousness and everything. So yes, I left Islam in the morality reasons when it comes to the understanding of Surah 65 verse 4. The age cannot be an issue in Islam. Like Aisha being the biggest example. Morality of that man, Muhammad, was a huge issue for me. And because being a sexual abuse survivor myself, I cannot resonate or reason with anyone about how can pedophilia be okay, no matter who is it from, whether he's the most purest man of God or whatsoever. One cannot defend pedophilia whatsoever. Hence why I am sitting next to you, leaving Islam, because the way you converse, the way you articulate the whole thing and showing, it was a beautiful thing to see. It was heart-wrenching at that time, but I am so glad that I'm out of it.
And
You'll recall, AP.
No.
You'll recall Muhammad Hijab's little survey several years ago, where he asked Muslims, hey, when you're doubting whether Muhammad's a prophet, when you're doubting whether Islam is true, what's causing your doubts? What's the source of your doubts? And the number one answer was moral problems with Muhammad. Here you have Francis saying that understanding what Surah 65 verse 4 actually says, understanding that passage, convinced him that Islam defends pedophilia. And he just said, this can't be from God. This can't be from God. And left. And so that's yet another example, but it's also part of the reason why the avalanche of apostasy isn't going to slow down. People in the world are catching on to what Muhammad did and what the Quran says and so on. And the Dawa guys are realizing they can no longer deny these things, and so they try to defend them. So what are they doing? They're defending child marriage. They're defending Surah 65, verse 4. They're saying it's all good. This is all good. This is good. This is good for society. And that's going to work with some people. You're also going to get a lot of people reacting like Francis here, saying, whoa, you mean the Islamophobes weren't just making this up? It's true. This all true. Our religion does teach us. Oh, I'm out of here. I'm out of here. Gonna happen.
Yeah. I was kind of with him there until he said hence why, which is grammatically not correct. That's kind of where he lost me.
First of all, you're a German Turk. You have no business correcting anyone else on anything.
That's cool, because this is pretty recent. You're talking about 2017 and so on with your sister, and then you're after that. But that's very interesting, because our good friend Mohammed Hijab back a few years ago did a
What
poll.
the heck? I record the thing. I don't remember anything about what I said, or even that I brought any of this up. And then it's the exact same thing that I just said. So you get to hear everything twice, apparently, because every time I listen to someone I interview, I'm going to say how I'm reacting to it, and then I'm going to play how I reacted to it when he said it, and it's going to be the same thing, apparently.
Based.
Where he asked Muslims, when you start to doubt Islam, what is it that causes your doubts? And he gave them various possibilities. Is it presentations of other religions or something like that, and so on? But the number one answer by far was moral problems with Muhammad. So that seems like some good information for everyone out there to learn. But since you're an ex-Muslim,
let me revisit that point real quick, because that was, guys, if we know the biggest cause of doubts among Muslims about their prophet, if the biggest source of doubts about whether he's actually from God is moral problems with him, what might be a good thing to start studying? Hijab basically handed it to us. He handed us a roadmap. Hey guys, I did the survey, and I've concluded this is the best source on the planet causing doubts among Muslims about whether their religion is true. Here it is. I mean, my goodness, that would be like if there was some war going on and you had someone from the other side go, hey guys, what's our biggest weakness that the enemy could exploit to completely crush us? Oh, this area? That's our biggest weakness? Huh, that's strange. And then they just hand it over to you. That's what Hijab just did. That's what Hijab did. And the Muslims, the Ummah, told you their weak point. They told you our biggest weak spot is Muhammad and all the horrible things he did. When we hear the horrible things he did, it really causes us to doubt Islam. What should everyone be studying? If you're worried about the future of Western society and they've told you what the biggest weakness of the Ummah is, what should you be doing? I'm just saying this because it seems obvious, and yet lots of people don't figure this out.
I guess we should be happy that you're in an awesome place like the UK, where you would never face any sort of problems or persecution or anything else.
This was right after I interviewed Nisar. So I said, hey, isn't it great that you're in the UK where everything's safe?
For leaving Islam.
I thought so too. Being from Pakistan, I thought so too. That I would be safe here because I've left Islam. I'm not back in Lahore, where I could be persecuted, I could be killed just for leaving Islam, or my family could be killed, persecuted. This is what I thought. But in UK, when I hear so many plight of ex-Muslims that they have to hide themselves being in UK, I personally go to Speaker's Corner. I converse with Muslims in the most gentlest manner possible. Sometimes I do get rough, but that's when, Yeah,
that's what was funny. I discourse in the gentlest manner. I was like, I've seen clips of you like going off on the child marriage thing, like flipping out on them over the child marriage thing. So he does take this very, very seriously. But yeah, he has been known to dial
when
things up.
you tend to become a bit angry no matter what, because I'm a human being too. But the thing is, even over here, because of one video got circulated and it went viral, I have had death threats, loss of work, loss of job, people disassociating with me, so many slanderous things that's happening to me, like people calling me out, even some Christians distancing from me. And that's what I did not imagine, that this would be happening in UK, where I would be threatened and police would look at this and they will tell me that I should be the one being more mature about these things and not conversant, putting myself in danger. And this...
Did you hear this? This is the response he gets from when some of the guys want to get upset or something. And then what do police tell him? Why are you having these conversations that you know are going to upset these guys? You're the problem. Not the guys flipping out because you're telling them about their prophet. You're the bad one for saying things that are upsetting them. You're the problem. Isn't it amazing? I mean, this guy's actually under a death sentence. If the Dawa guys get their way, this guy is dead. And police, well, why don't you just shut up about all this Muhammad stuff? Why don't you stop bringing this stuff up? I don't know, because I don't want to die. Is that a good reason?
No.
Wild stuff.
So blaming the victim.
Blaming the victim, basically. I did not expect the police to turn around and say to me that you need to shut up for the sake of your own protection. I cannot speak like this because it offends Muslims. But if it offends Muslims that much, but they ask for tolerance all the time, and that's what I said to the police officer when I wanted him to report or make a report about this, and he said he wouldn't. I told him that they constantly ask for their tolerance, but here I am asking you that these intolerant people constantly ask for tolerance. You give them that tolerance, but here I am pleading to you that someone's literally made a death threat, told me that he will literally kill me, end me, and you are here sitting and saying you won't make a report because somehow I was the one who agitated him and I was the aggressor, because somehow me, why do I even come here if I know that this would happen to me? And I'm just looking at his face when he's telling me all of this. After that, I went to multiple police officers. I spoke to them and they said the report should have been made at that time. What can we do now? Do you remember the face? Like, try making reports and reports, but none to no avail. The lawyers themselves are saying, the police is not reporting. What do you want us to do? And I am looking at all of this, being in this country, where your livelihood can be taken away if you say something. You can literally be vilified by so many different levels. I have to live in the most whitest area in order for my protection. I cannot assimilate with different cultures because my own security. There's places I can't go to right now. Upton Park, Ilford Lane, Whitechapel. There are places in London that I can't go because of this, because I'm out there as an ex-Muslim. There's no-go zones for me personally because it can be threatening for me. People have told me, a lot of people who work in official levels have privately told me just stay away from these areas. I had to literally change my name because back in Pakistan, my relatives can be persecuted if they get to know what my real name is. I've been told I cannot apply to jobs just randomly online, like Indeed or Right Jobs. I can't just apply randomly because if any Muslim gets to know my address, my whole job, my work experience and everything, it can be detrimental for me. And this is what I've been told, that I need to give CVs to people, apply jobs.
Guys, think about all this because so this is not he's being executed or something like that, but it's, hey, we'll make sure that since you're an ex-Muslim, your entire life is screwed up constantly.
Imagine Muslims were treated like that. Imagine what the narrative around it. Muslims can't even be safe anymore. How are they supposed to deal with all this bigotry and the racism, and can't even live their proper lives anymore? Can't even go out and pray outside in the streets, occupying traffic. This is terrible. We have to change ourselves. This reminds me of how I was just looking at my email history with the police. What he just said reminded me of what I was told here. They said to me, as stated in my previous email, I have reviewed the YouTube videos in question. It is quite apparent that you have got yourself in an open debate against YouTubers who are very passionate about their religion. It can be seen that you engage voluntarily in the public domain through social media with an element of freedom of speech. And some issues brought up by you have been said to cause an adverse reaction, which has happened. What I advise is that you simply block him and have no further interactions with people like that. And that's it. So I shouldn't have a debate with people that are public about these issues, because it is obvious that if I debate these issues and they find this things that I say too sensitive, they will threaten death, and I shouldn't do that. Yeah. Wonderful. Wonderful.
Yeah, this
Perfect.
I mean, this is like extremely messed up, right? So you have this growing movement, and the Dawa leaders are all, yes, once we get more powerful, we're going to come kill all these guys. And then the guys who are to be on the receiving end of that, they're like, well, we need to say something now. We can't wait 20 years until we're just getting our heads chopped off, can we? Can we like respond to it now? And then what do police say? What? Why are you saying this stuff? You know it's going to rile these people up. It's amazing. It's like, wait, these guys want to have me publicly executed. And the only way it's not going to happen is if I take a stand right now, not 10 years from now, right now. I have to take a stand and expose the ideology. I have to expose it. So it's the only peaceful solution I have, so I'm going to do that. And then police, what are you doing? Look how you're upsetting people. This is your fault. Your fault for responding to the ideology that calls for your public beheading.
Maybe we should wait until we're being beheaded.
Yeah.
What's the plan?
Yeah. Is that what you're supposed to do?
Yeah.
It's pretty sick and evil. Pretty sick and evil.
Sick.
In hand, so I know that I'm not applying it in the wrong place, and it can be a safety hazard for me. These are the sort of things I have to do whilst living in UK. It would have been like I'm living back in Pakistan, Lahore. It literally feels the same thing. But in UK, the only thing is I've got a few, like, of the few good things are, obviously I can live in a secure area. There's no like police knocking on my door, or like this government knocking on my door and trying to threaten me and give me death sentence. There are few good things about it, but at the end, when you allow Muslims to act all the way through, and Leicester Square, I can walk through. People from Speaker's Corner, all those Muslims come to Speaker's Corner. I can't take my partner to Leicester Square. My fiance and I have to walk away from that side.
Was that?
Sorry, but if you don't like it, just go somewhere else. If you don't like, obviously you are aware that the UK is a country with a high Muslim population and big Muslim influence. London is a place with large Muslim population. If you don't like it, if you're not happy there, just go somewhere else. That's what Mohammed Hijab.
Yeah, that's what he told. That's what he said to people.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That's what they do.
That's what they do.
Just for them to not see her. This is the sort of safety measures we have to take, precautions we have to constantly think about living in a society.
We live in a society.
This is the point, and I'm wondering what's going to happen next.
Yeah, because things seem like they're getting worse in a lot of ways, and rather than better. It is It is amazing because Islam for 14 centuries has put a lot of emphasis on threatening people to keep people from leaving Islam. So even if someone puts his foot down and leaves Islam, they want to make an example out of him for other Muslims. Say, here's what will happen to you if you leave Islam. You don't want to do that. And here, the same thing happening to ex-Muslims in the UK. Massive pressure, threats of violence, all to intimidate people into not leaving Islam. And doesn't sound like the government is doing anything to stop it. But thanks for joining me here, Francis. And there's a link to your channel in the description box.
Thank you so much. God bless, guys. Keep me in your prayers and keep UK in your prayers. And thanks to Brother David Wood for all that he does, for all the ex-Muslims out there who do such a tremendous job, and all the brothers and sisters in America who go out there and show the truth about Islam. God bless you all. Thank you so much.
He's talking about me.
It was. He said, the apostate prophet, the apostate prophet. Yeah, so I didn't beforehand, but I did after the social. You might need to refresh. But as he was talking there, I went ahead and added a link to his channel in the description box if you want to check out his... why does it break the link? That's weird. It's a weird thing that it will put the little code in there, then it switches it to a regular link, then it chops off. Why does it do that, AP? Wait, no.
That's what they do.
Yeah, it's coming up as a broken link. What the heck? Got to fix it. Anyway, I have a link to Francis's YouTube channel. I saw some people say, "How can we help him?" You can obviously share his stuff. He is one of the people who has had to move from a dangerous area to an area that is more difficult to afford. So if you want to help him out financially and so on, there are links on his YouTube channel, which I'm apparently going to have to fix here. The issue is, if I just inserted the link correctly and YouTube screwed it up, why is it not going to do it again, AP? Explain that, please.
Because of the trajectory.
If the trajectory continues as it is that what you're saying?
Yeah, precisely. That's exactly what I said.
I have no idea why this is problematic. Inserting the link to a channel, and then as soon as I click save, it distorts the link. Care to explain that? Francis's channel. Try again. See if that works. All right. If not, I'll fix it again later. All right. Let's go through some super chats. And it's crazy. And again, yes, there are lots of people like that, but they're having very similar experiences. If there's a lot of Muslims around and they're ex-Muslims, they have problems, even in the UK. Isn't that interesting?
Yes.
And the government does not want to do a lot to help them because that might upset some people. Let's see. Shauna says, we also have more Christians here. Oh, I think this is a comment earlier about what's going to happen in the U.S. Shauna says, we also have more Christians here, which is a better off-ramp than atheism. Yeah, atheism sucks. Just pragmatically, yeah. Nothing pragmatic about atheism. It's the opposite. Fareed gave David Wood some free education about the Quran. Do you think he will give him an education about... and here we have all these words. There's no way all these words are real. Ambatukam. You're telling me you've got Gen Z kids saying Ambatukam? Come on. Be realistic here.
Whomst?
Hot dog, cheeseburger, turtle. Good point. Alhamdulillah. Really, David? Military to remove Islamists? What are you talking about?
No.
Military. What are you talking about?
No.
Cowboy emoji. I sent something to you, AP, on X. I'm not able to send to D Wood. It's funny.
Really?
Yes. That is from White Lily, Apostate of Allah. It better be good. And in Jewish culture, they're naturally pretty funny and like to play pranks a little. So this is our question of to what extent. We know the Jews were pranking Muhammad to at least some extent. The question is, how much? How much were they pranking him? That is a important research topic. What did you see, AP, that was sent to you that was so important that Lily would completely disrupt this entire live stream?
I just watched the video that she sent.
Is it powerful?
Yeah, it's quite powerful. I'll send it to you.
All right, you heard it here, folks. There's some awesome stuff. Let's see. You got it, AP. Isa came from Esau in Aramaic.
Alhamdulillah.
AP doesn't know. And just like that, when they wake up, their leather straps will cringe tight. Their what is this weird stuff from AP's fans? Their buttholes when they find out that Islam is what Islam does.
Alhamdulillah.
Finally, we have some sanity right here. Isa, it was a pleasure to see you both. Shabbat Shalom. He's our favorite Jewish Sufi Muslim.
Shabbat Shalom, bro.
Prophet Muhammad says, the Dawa boys are going through group therapy. Thanks for creating jobs. It's not going to last. Allahu Akbar. Nice voice, D Wood. Now you're an imam. Oh, yeah, that was my powerful recitation gibberish from earlier. I just wanted to tell you guys, there are now T-shirts and coffee cups that actually say Sitzpinkler. Is it about Muhammad? Muhammad war ein Sitzpinkler.
Sitzpinkler. That's funny. That's good. I like this.
Don't be a Sitzpinkler. No, if you had a shirt in English that just said, don't be a Sitzpinkler, that would be a funny conversation starter, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Let's do it.
Let's do it. D Wood, with your books and your Rock'em Sock'em ring, you are just as bad as Mike. You are just as bad, Mike Winger. Bah ha 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 ha. Sorry, can't keep a straight face. Lying. I'm no Dawa guy. Okay, yeah. Couldn't keep up that lie.
Yeah.
Eli here says, love you both. Hey, Eli, how you doing?
Always nice to see.
And where was Eli when I was fighting for my life at Speaker's Corner? Eli's a big guy.
Nice.
What if Goat Hub is Mike Winger? Ooh.
Wait, that makes sense. Huh.
Hey, what if I became like the Groypers? Except for me, everything was a Mike Winger conspiracy. Like everything that sucks in life, I'm like, you see, it's Mike Winger.
This might be a Mike Winger psyop.
I'm going to start saying that. Is this a Mike Winger psyop? Make a LLM of all hadiths and have AI go to town. What's an LLM, AP? You know that AI stuff.
Lonely loser mattress. I don't know what is an LLM.
It's probably some sort of thing that you. Probably some
it's
sort
a
of
language
file.
model. Yeah, language model. It's a language model which serves to build AI that gives responses. It's like a collection of large collection of words and files and instructions for the AI.
That's pretty based.
Yep.
That would be good if I could absorb all that information. You also wonder if it's going to pick up on like what's it going to do with like contradictions and stuff, because the hadiths are filled with contradictions.
Yes.
Did you guys see Canned Ace is now encouraging her followers to go down the Jews did 9/11 conspiracy rabbit hole? Fuentes must be prouder than Ali Dawa. Is that true? I mean, it's totally believable.
I did see that she apparently talked about. I didn't have a complete look at it, but she did say that that the official narrative of 9/11 seems like it doesn't make sense, and then she actually went into
same with the dinosaurs, right?
The main conspiracy theory of dancing Israelis. There were dancing Israelis that were arrested on that day and who turned out to be Israeli agents. And the thing is, when people present this whole stupid conspiracy theory, it may sound a little bit credible on the surface because some of the facts can be backed up, which is that there were actually a group of Israeli individuals who were arrested on the day of 9/11 because a woman who was at her home and looking outside saw a van with certain people outside who were standing on the van and taking photos and talking to each other, and apparently she said that they seemed happy, so she reported it because it seemed weird, as you could see the towers in the back going down, falling apart. They were indeed arrested. The authorities tried to figure out who these people are. It turned out that the van that they were using was a van for a construction company, and that these guys were there working in America and extending, having overstayed their visa stay. So they were no longer allowed to stay, but they were still there, which is very, very funny because one thing that you should probably consider is if these people were spies, if these people were spies for Mossad or for Israel, these people wouldn't have expired visas. They wouldn't have expired visas and overstay their permit, overstay their visit, and be in some crappy, shady van doing work and having nothing else on them. They would have proper documents arranged by Israel, arranged in a good fashion with the US government. There would be no way to quickly see that these people are not supposed to be here because they have expired visas. If you have an expired visa, you're probably not a spy. Okay, you're probably just some random guy. Anyway, so these guys were arrested, and when they were arrested, the thing is, apparently, on the first day, it was already concluded, okay, these guys know nothing about the whole 9/11 issue. They were just there to take photos or on some other mission to surveil Palestinian activities or something like that. So that was the actual concern with them. And they kept them for a while and eventually concluded, okay, everything is baseless. There's nothing, there is no evidence to implicate any of these guys. So they deported them. These guys went back to Israel and actually went on national TV to talk about how crazy this experience was. So obviously they went on TV, you have their names, everything is out there, but some idiots today twist that narrative so much to argue that these guys were proven to be Israeli agents sent to carry out and oversee the 9/11 attacks. Are you serious, man? I mean, this is just so stupid. And the funny thing is, many other people were also arrested on 9/11. Many others were arrested after 9/11, all of different backgrounds, of different religious backgrounds, ethnic backgrounds. Most of them released because no connection was established. But the only people that are very much known in conspiracy theory circles are these Israelis. Wonder why.
Yeah, I have sort of the same overarching issue there when the conspiracy theorists, they see this Jewish mastermind plot behind everything, and then the evidence will always be something that no Jewish mastermind would have ever done, right? It's like, hey, oh, they're so brilliant. They've got this brilliant plan and this brilliant plot, and they carried it out perfectly to make it look like it was Muslim. And wait, they're standing there dancing around and doing stuff like idiots? Yeah, they were really dumb. And they had all these expired visas and stuff like that. They're basically the dumbest guys in the world. But yeah, they're the ones, they're the masterminds. They're the masterminds behind everything.
Controlling the world with expired visas. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Powerful. Twista's new hit. Semen covered demon possessed pedophile Minu Muhammad. I don't know who Twista is, but yeah. I know I shouldn't cast pearls before swine, but sometimes I just can't help myself. That's true.
Fun.
That's true. I'm your king. Bow down and kiss thine ring. What? JTV Forever says, hi, AP. This is going to sound totally random, but Google Just played an ad for Magic the Gathering, Assassin's Creed, on your live, and I was wondering, do you play Magic the Gathering? Thank you for doing what you do.
Probably has nothing to do with me. Probably has something to do with you.
Wait, Magic the Gathering is a video game? I thought it was one of those card games.
Oh, that's a card game.
Magic the Gathering's a card game.
Yeah, but
Assassin's Creed's a video game, isn't it?
yes, it is.
Yeah.
I don't know how these things are. I'm not even up to date with that kind of stuff. Right?
Yeah, I don't know.
So,
David Wood videos, gateway drug to apostasy, you see? Yeah. Indeed. Turkey plays tomorrow, and the Dizzle loves football. Dizzle does love football, but Turkey's not involved. Why, except on the Thanksgiving games that they have every year, then Turkey is involved. Why not
Magic
recommend...
also was released as a digital game a few years back. Interesting. Okay. Didn't know.
Why not recommend Robert Spencer's Critical Quran? It's easy to read and doesn't mince words. It's good. Oh, yeah, if you're talking about Qurans with commentaries. So the question was, yeah, everyone should have Robert Spencer's Critical Quran. You should get that.
Well, it was written by an Islamophobe, and we don't want to endorse Islamophobic content here on this channel.
Yeah, how would that affect people? I mean, just imagine. Fareed comes over here to our channel.
He will be
to watch, and he sees us talking about the Critical Quran. People aren't listening. It's frightening. Have fallen out with friends for telling the truth about Islam. UK government complacent. That's the problem with people not listening, is the problem grows and grows and grows. And these guys just seem obsessed with making you eventually get their point.
Beast.
So everyone who's denying it, they will eventually get to a point where they can no longer deny it.
Beast.
AP, you sound like Abraham from His Only Son. Ha. Is that a movie? Oh, that was a movie. They made a movie about Abraham.
Oh, yeah, there was a movie, right?
Yeah, they says you sound like that. You sound like Abraham. I'll have to check it out.
Cool.
Did Abraham have a calm, soothing voice that sounds like a psychiatrist?
It's on Amazon Prime. Okay, I'm going to watch.
Hi, Isaac. Thank you and welcome. Did you guys see what Daniel Pikachu was saying at Queen's College? Mostly a bunch of stupid anti-Semitism, but it's worth taking a look at. Ooh, it's on Visegrad. We might need to check that out.
Yeah, I saw Visegrad posted it and I shared it, just captioning it with "ooh, brother." But I have to check that out, see what's up there.
We might want to review that because, I mean, you have the world's leading defender of child marriage and wife beating and all these things, and he's speaking at Queen's College.
Yeah,
that's interesting. That's good to know. A Nigerian man was lynched in Bauchi State over blasphemy a day before the guy in Pakistan, but not getting as much coverage. It is crazy how much people will... Like, Nigeria seems like the most ignored place in the world, considering what's going on by the media. Like, we don't hear 1/100th of all the messed up stuff that's going on in Pakistan, but we hear more about Pakistan than we will hear about Nigeria, even though there are more Christians being killed for being Christians in Nigeria than in the rest of the world combined.
Well, Nigeria is African, on the other side of the Sahara, and nobody cares about that. So,
Ayatollah says, I just found out Doors is a beautiful Muslimah. Ooh, really?
Ooh.
No.
How did you find that out?
Ayatollah wants to get married. He's the Ayatollah. He's like, oh, beautiful Muslimah. Ayatollah's like, oh, yes, he can be my 15th wife. Monk and Mike says, the conversation between Tommy Robinson and Nuria Khan at his show Silenced, released yesterday. They do touch on the subject of how it is for ex-Muslims in the UK. It's a long talk, but it was quite interesting.
Oh, I saw that it was.
What channel? Is that on a channel or what?
There was a trailer to it. That's what I saw. I think it's on Rumble, where Tommy Robinson has his channel because he was banned from YouTube.
Isn't that insane, by the way?
Yeah.
Like Ali Dawah actually talks about publicly executing millions of people. That's fine. That's totally fine. Tommy Robinson says, hey guys, we need to watch out for what these guys are plotting here. He gets banned. We should check that out. Maybe watch some of it during a live stream, man. Hint, hint.
I will just ask him if I can just publish parts of it, at least on the channel here.
Yep, that's a good way to get banned. Are you familiar with Numani's woke army connecting CCP funding to campus jihadis? It is just the tip of the international subversive network iceberg. No, I don't follow that stuff. I'm not saying it's not important, but I'm just not familiar with it. So, no, I don't know what you're talking about. Will the English government use military to remove... Oh, why don't English government use military to remove Islamists? One, why would you need the military? If you wanted to remove the guys and it became a matter of law that you're going to remove these guys, police could just show up and take the guys to the airport and so on. The issue is it has to become the position of the people and the government that this is what we're going to do. We're going to get Islamists out of here, something like that. That's the hurdle. Right now, the government can't get enough of these guys. And you have elections still going on in various places in Europe, and you have major political parties who can't get enough of Islam. They love it. Why are they going to kick the guys out? We can't kick out the Islamists because that would hurt our reputation with these other voters. Are you guys going to have the hippie Muslim Jewish guy in again? Of course. Of course, it's always good to have Isa in a discussion. There's a calming effect on AP. What if you train an AI on the hadith and it becomes a sentient AI? Dude, that could be the skit of like a movie. You plug all the hadiths into an AI and it becomes a sentient AI Muhammad. And then this computer wants to go around banging little girl computers or something like that. I don't know how it would work.
I did at some point start playing with this there's this open AI, which is the company and the system behind ChatGPT. I tried to give instructions to it and make it a little bit Muhammad-like by giving it different examples. But of course, I never really had the time or the resources to sit down and do that in a thorough way. But if you want to get close to it, I think people who have more expertise with that could actually sit down and feed all the data and all the language to that system and create something Muhammad-like, at least in responding to whatever you say. It would be funny to see if somebody is interested in that and actually does that and tells us about the results or publishes it. I don't know.
Yeah. So we support that effort. Anyone who wants to do that. Trying to say, why don't government use military to remove Islamists to help police do their job? Yeah. The military is going to obey the orders of their leaders. Their leaders do not want them removing Islamists. So why are you saying the military should stage a coup or something like that? The military is not going to do. If you have a government that says we can't get enough Muslims here, we want more, and you're saying why aren't they using the military? Because they don't want to. They don't want to do any of that. They want more. What are you talking about?
Why are you shaking?
I'm just saying, I keep getting this question. Why isn't the military jumping in there? The military does not do that. The military is not going to jump in there and do anything. What are you talking about there? Yeah, it's like Michelle seems to think, yeah, the government's really trying to figure out how to get rid of these Islamists, but they think they don't have the power. Well, they use the military. The first assumption was false. They're not trying to get rid of them. They get rid of the critics. That's what they do. The government wants to get rid of the critics. If you're from outside, they block you from coming in. And if you're inside, they lock you up like they did Tommy Robinson. That's what the government's doing. That's what you're saying. Why doesn't that government use the military to get rid of the people they absolutely love and can't get enough of? Shaima here said, what?
Smile to Jahannam in the chat said, "Hey Aisha." That's a funny. Hey Aisha.
That kind of reminds me of when I did a Sharia compliant Alexa,
Oh yeah, yeah.
and
I remember.
it sounded like Aisha. Oh, Aisha, the Sharia compliant Alexa. I remember that commercial we had. And vocab was dressed as a Muslim beating the crap out of it with a ruler. That was messed up. We need to go. We need to find some of those old funny clips and watch those when we're goofing off one day.
It's pretty sick.
Muslim family hides the fact that I'm a Christian from the community, afraid of what people will think. Fell out with siblings as I insult Momo. Hopefully there will come a day when your siblings will say, we were really mad, but you were right all along. Thank you. Ali Dawa gives me a headache.
Then say thank you.
But do it on a whiteboard.
Yeah.
Say thank you on a whiteboard. Falafel Sandwich says, did you hear about the letter that Muhammad Hijab sent to Tommy Robinson? That's what he does. Ew, brother. Ew. Thank you, D-Wood and AP, for continuing the trajectory. Yeah, what I heard this came out in a discussion with Hatun, but I haven't seen the actual clip. But apparently Muhammad Hijab sent a letter to Tommy at his home, and I don't know what the letter said, but we'll have to check out the clip. But yeah, the point of the letter is, hey, I know where you live. That's the point, right? Hijab, what a freaking coward.
Hijab.
What a dope. Oh, scare everyone into keeping their mouths shut. Do you seriously think, Hijab, I mean, just common sense wise here, do you seriously think that you're intimidating Tommy into keeping his mouth shut? Like, seriously?
Tommy will be scared now. He was humiliated.
Tommy's going to be, after all these years, they threw me in prison all the time, the pepper spray and all this other stuff. Now, Muhammad Hijab sent me a letter. I'm going to be scared now.
No, he's going to be like, mate, there's a Muslim sending a letter to my door. I'm scared now, mate.
Can't be helped. Can't be helped. Hijab, that's what you get for sending a letter to Tommy Robinson. Small gesture, but I just remind you that, what was it, 4 years ago, they would all lose their minds over this, and there would be this big thing on the internet. Oh no, he ate the Quran. And now we can do it, and there won't be a peep out of anyone. Why? Because you helped us normalize it.
You know what's funny?
What?
Tommy Robinson sent me a voice message like a few weeks ago or so, and he sent me a voice message, and I had to listen to it like several times to understand what he was saying. So,
What's the point?
that's the point. The accent is too strong. So maybe there is actually a just cause in having more Islam imported into the UK and changing the way people talk and making it more bearable. And
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they could always just watch more American movies and learn to speak properly. So Islam is not the solution for that, AP.
Yeah, but it's one solution.
Anyway, guys, I mean, seriously, on the note of serious progress, I just chewed up the Quran and spit it out. No one is going to care even slightly. 4 years ago, it caused a huge uproar. That's called progress, ladies and gentlemen. That's called progress.
That's why progressives should be supporting us. See?
Progressives should be supporting us because we make actual progress. Look at what Hijab did right there. See, he sends a letter thinking, oh, I'm really impressed them. I'm really impressed. And what do? We further normalize Quran desecration. Now Now I'll send you guys a message and threaten you. That'll help. Yeah. Freaking tactical geniuses we're dealing with.
Something is happening to me, so now I have the Quran in my. What?
Ew, brother. Ooh. Has Candace's pregnant grandfather been consulted about Jews doing 9/11? That would be the authority to go to.
I'm suddenly
Freeze.
making goat sounds. I feel like a goat somewhere.
Freeze, heathen. You can't defeat God. You'll only defeat yourself in the process. To the Bible mobile. These good points, Bible man.
Beast.
Fun fact, German police smuggle Middle Eastern migrants into Poland, drop them off in police cars. That true?
Don't think so.
If it's true, it would be very based. The GOAT Masab did another inspired interview. Did we miss it?
Maybe.
Who interviewed him?
I don't know.
Do you know any good, effective organizations that are helping out Nigerian brothers and sisters? Yeah, you do have some of the Christian ministries that help with various persecuted groups in the world. So, I mean, you could just look up Voice of the Martyrs or International Christian Concern and so on, and find out what's going on there. Sad, did not mean to upset you, but police seems afraid, thought they needed help. Oh, so the thought is police are scared of the Islamists, therefore why not send the government to do something? No, it's the entire government that is terrified. And it's not, oh, they're going to come kill it. They're just terrified of being called a name. And so you can't be on the wrong side of this, or someone will call you a name. So what do? You show that you're not an Islamophobe. You show that you're not a bigot. You show that you're not any of these things by looking the other way, no matter what the Islamists do. And if they're going around harassing or attacking ex-Muslims for being ex-Muslims, if they're going around grooming little girls and so on, you look the other way. There's no question of bringing in the government. They would have to acknowledge that there's a problem. I mean, bringing in the military, they would have to acknowledge a problem. And they can't do that because that would be Islamophobic. So there is
once again, this assumes that we have to hold Muslims to the same standards and expect them to follow the law. This is a mistake. You cannot expect them to follow the law.
I've been saying it for many, many years. You can go back to videos from 15 years ago. The only solution to any of this is an informed population of free people. Not journalists, not governments. You got to have a correct population. So that means everyone here. Everyone here. You fix these problems by going person to person and sharing information until people are more informed. That's one of the main obstacles. Keep in mind, we still have even here in the West, where people are actually starting to find out about things, you still have vast majorities of the population who are completely ignorant about Islam.
But the people...
I just had a revelation. Islam is all because of a woman. Sarah, Abraham's wife, insisted that Abraham should get a child. With Hagar, Ishmael being born is Sarah's fault. So much for her logical mind. You could blame a woman in many, many different ways. Like Muhammad, when he first started getting his revelations, tried repeatedly to off himself because he concluded that he was demon-possessed. It was his wife and her cousin who convinced him, no, you're a prophet of God. So see?
Big mistake.
It's the real founder of Islam there. D. Wood talks about Christians being persecuted. Christian. AP pretends to make goat noises. Agnostic. Draw your own conclusions.
Pretends? What are you talking about?
That is the main difference between Christians and agnostics. Dang, I wish I had a Quran right now. I have a sudden hunger for blasphemy. Yes.
Alhamdulillah.
I got a hunger. The only way to satisfy it is more Quran.
Beast.
All right, AP. We've been going for a while. Any
No,
final
no.
thoughts on? Any final thoughts on? Gosh, man, you know what's crazy?
Yes.
Some of these clips of from ex-Muslims and so on, and the stuff that's going on in the UK. I'm like, look, if the police aren't going to protect you there, hey, if you can get out of there, get the heck out of there. And people say, no, they need to stay there. It's like, what are you talking about? This guy has to stay in an area with his family where they're going to be killed. So, yeah, ladies and gentlemen, if you're an ex-Muslim in the UK, try to get to an area where these guys aren't going to horribly persecute you with the blessing of the UK government.
Yeah, which is why everybody should, again and again, understand what Islam is about, what Islam teaches, how Islam influences Muslims, how it redirects people toward hating and fighting while playing the victim. This is the reality. It is the reality. If you don't see it, listen what the most popular Muslim apologists have to say for themselves. They believe in executing apostates, installing an Islamic government as soon as they can, punishing the enemies of Islam, slavery, pedophilia, sex slavery, subjugating women, using them as if they were possessions, like Muhammad, the child molester, did. It is a major, giant cult, and ignoring the danger that it poses and the messed up things that it actually teaches means supporting it, means being an obstacle to those who are trying to expose it. Either don't say anything about it or don't protect it. Don't say anything about it or don't side with it. If you want to say anything about it, and if you do believe in human rights and freedom, if you do believe in compassion and in the value of human beings, you should at least not protect Islam. But it would be best if you join in pointing out that Islam is terrible and everybody should oppose it, not just non-Muslims. Muslims themselves should oppose it, which is why we need to turn more and more people into ex-Muslims, turn more and more people away, turn more and more people into ex-Muslims for their own good and for everyone else's good, so that we can eventually, humans can get rid of this stupid ideology that oppresses people, but that oppresses Muslims themselves foremost and above all. Inshallah. Alhamdulillah.
Powerful, powerful stuff. Meanwhile, I see people responding to Tenebris Sint, who's saying the most insanely idiotic stuff ever, like, Jesus was so famous, no one wrote about him. No one wrote about Jesus? No one wrote about Jesus. No one ever wrote about Jesus. Yeah, nothing's ever been written about Jesus. Oh, boy. The internet, man. The internet. The internet.
Yeah, not even Josephus wrote about Jesus.
We do have good news here. Ayatollah Khomeini says, just called Dora's father and negotiated a 4-camel dowry. Call me Muhammad because I'm going to split the moon. Wow. Michelle G, responding to the earlier conversation, said, got it, just moving so slow. Yeah, well, it's going to be moving faster there. And Monkey Mike here says, good night, boys. And that is a good time to say good night, everyone. Lord willing, we will be back this weekend with some pretty dope stuff. Again, there's a link to Francis's channel in the description box if you want to go check out Francis's channel. And if you want the famous Checkmate Jihadi shirt, you have probably a short time to actually get one. Link for that is in the description box as well. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we will catch you all tomorrow.
Tomorrow.